If it looks like I'm tired as shit. There's a rock here. If it looks like I'm tired as shit, it's because I am tired as shit. I haven't slept all night because I think that weird drink, the garlic, chili pepper, lemon juice drink, I think it was working. And I stopped drinking it because it was gross, and I was like, I don't really need to. My mosquito bites aren't really bothering me anyway. So I was drinking it thinking that it's gonna deter the mosquitoes. The reality is, I think it was stopping the itching. Like, it was being anti-inflammatory. It was garlic, lemon juice, chili pepper, and ginger. And so that's, I think, what it was doing. I think it was stopping the itching. And so when I stopped drinking it, like, the itching came back, and it's like really itchy. I mean, my legs are covered. And of course there's a whole set of new bites, and it's just like very impossible to focus on anything, think about anything when I have this. And so anyway, I just didn't sleep, and even when I did have some sleep, I was dreaming about the itching, and so I just ended up staying awake, watching videos all night, and now it's early morning, and I'm just going for a walk, and like hanging out on this hammock by the beach, which is actually really nice. So, things I like versus don't like about Ecuador. First of all, the reason why Ecuador was always so interesting to me is because there's a lot of good options for people looking for a place outside of the US. It provides good amnesty for a lot of people. It's a good place to potentially have a second citizenship, passport, and it's very complimentary for US citizens. So like the access that you get from the Ecuadorian passport, if you can get Ecuadorian citizenship, the amount of countries that you can go to, in addition to like the countries you can go to visa free if you're from the US only, like it's just expanded so much more with an Ecuadorian passport. You can go visa free to like China, Russia, Turkey, Iran, whatever. Not that you want to go to those countries necessarily, but like let's say you want to go to China for business, it's easier because you don't need a visa. You just can have you just can go as an Ecuadorian, and it's a neutral country relatively, like on the world stage. Doesn't really have any beef with the major countries, so it's just easier to have like a safe place in case shit hits the fan. And then they also use the US dollar, so it's convenient for Americans. Like that's why a lot of people do that, and they make it easy for you to get citizenship. It takes 5 years to be naturalized, but it's like 2 years or even faster if you're willing to put $42,000 in real estate or like any kind of assets. So anyway, just to give you a brief overview of why Ecuador was always so interesting to me, and I've always wanted to invest in real estate outside of the US for many reasons. And I know it sounds like a big, huge ordeal, but if you think about how cheap real estate is in other parts of the world and how expensive everything is in the US, like with the same cost of your 1 month's rent, you could buy a house in another country. It's really crazy and mind-boggling to think about it like that, because I would much rather have a house forever, I don't care where in the world it is, than to pay 1 month of rent in the US. That's crazy. So that's basically why I'm like on this trip of like, wanting to explore places, and like of course Andrew's doing other stuff, but this is why for me Ecuador was always interesting, because Ecuador was like a great candidate for that. And then coming here is very different. Like on paper, Ecuador is great. We've established that. But actually coming to Ecuador, and this all stuff that I was warned about, that I was told is going to be a certain way. And so far we've been basically just hitting up towns on the coast and talking to people about it, talking to people about different cities and also inland in Ecuador. So the things I don't like about it, first of all, I don't like that they use the US dollar. Like, it's easier in terms of like, oh, you get to do everything with the dollar. But it's annoying because the US dollar is the other currencies are losing their value against the US dollar in a lot of countries. So for example, in Colombia, the peso is crashing against the US dollar. So it's just nice when your dollar has so much more buying power in general. So that's what I like about it. In other countries, just having more buying power with my dollar. So, and then the other thing is that there are a lot of Americans here. A lot of Americans, Germans, like gringos. And I don't know where they're getting their money from, but they're coming with a lot of money and they're spending a lot, and it's like it's the prices are nearly US prices for food. It's actually more expensive than the US for alcohol. For any kind of wine or beer, you're paying definitely a lot more than you'd pay in the US. And I'm talking about like basic alcohol, basic food. The food is, I'm sorry, it's not great. It's really not. It's like avocados and plantains every single day. Avocados and plantains. And there's this one place that is open, like everywhere is closed, but it's not just this town, it's like every town, and it's in general, when you talk to people, this is the general vibe. It's not really like a hustle culture in Ecuador, so like things are overpriced because there's so many Westerners that come here, because Americans come here, because of all those incentives that I told you about. So things are expensive. Food's expensive. Real estate isn't so expensive, but because real estate's, it's a different story. But like food and everything is like just living and getting around, and it's because of labor, because labor is expensive. And labor is expensive because there isn't the actual hustle, like the actual labor market in Ecuador is scarce. So there's a market for real estate, there's a market for investors, there's investors coming in and doing their thing. There's Westerners coming in and doing their thing, setting up businesses. They have this like digital nomad visa where you can like, you don't have to pay taxes if you're making your income in another country and you're spending it here. They want people to spend here. But the actual culture, like the people, there's not much of a labor market. People are not work oriented. They're really nice. They're very laid back and chill, but like they're not very work oriented and they're not very like advanced. So nobody will, people, they don't really understand why Wi-Fi is important. There's some people, there's one guy in this whole town that keeps his shop open every day. His name is Alex. What's up, Alex? He's great. And he has Wi-Fi, he keeps his shop open. He charges maybe a little bit more than the other shops in this town, but it's worth it because he's actually hustling for it. He's actually providing, and he'll like, he'll kind of like, he's trying. Most places that we're going to, whether like in this town or in the town over or the next town over or whatever, most places, like, they're not going to be open at a set time. They're going to open whenever they feel like it. It might be maybe a few hours a week maybe, if they open, and it's going to be whenever they're going to open, whenever they feel like it, close whenever they feel like it, and they're going to be very expensive. And because the people that they're serving is not their local customers. You're never going to see, I haven't seen a single place where Ecuadorians are going out to eat. I haven't seen that. So far, it's just serving Westerners. Like, that's all I'm seeing is the Ecuadorians are behind the counter and there's Westerners sitting and eating. And that's why, and so everything is expensive because it's not serving the local economy, because the local economy doesn't really go out to eat. They eat their own foods. And so anyway, that's how it is. And like, I don't really like it. expensive. It's not, and it's not good quality. And everything, you have to pay everything in cash, and you can't even pay like, so everything has to be paid in cash, but there's no ATM machines. So nobody uses credit card machines, but they don't have ATM machines either. So you have to come in with a lot of cash. But the other thing is that you have to come in with a lot of dollar coins, like $1 coins, which I think I showed you earlier. Okay, $1 coin. This $1 coin. You need a lot of $1 coins, because in a lot of places they won't actually take paper cash. They only use $1 coins, and it's weird. It's like weird. And $20, forget about it. No one's gonna have change for you. If you use $20, they won't accept your $20. They would much rather you give them dollar bill coins, because that's how their economy works. Is they use dollar bill coins for everything, but they also make everything very expensive for you. So it's like you have to pay like $16 in dollar bill coins. Where are you gonna get your dollar bill coins? I don't know, dude. It's like, it's a mystery. Like, I don't know how anybody else here does it. But the one thing I will say, after all that dunking on Ecuador, which is pretty shitty, honestly, I'm really unimpressed, very unimpressed. I would never want to hire anybody here. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't care if, and even if it's like, you know, like, even if I pay someone like $5,000 to do a task, like, I don't really have a lot of faith that it's the type of hustle culture that will be able to meet my needs, you know, or meet the needs of any kind of like functional business. And then the other thing, so that being said, I really do like the nature. It's really nice, and the fact that I could, after a long night of not sleeping, I can just come out here and sleep here by the beach. It's really nice. It feels good, and I feel very relaxed. And the other thing is, like, if I were to, like, well, I don't have any money to lose. I'm kind of in a lot of debt. It stresses me out. Like, nearly $500,000 in debt, but I have like cash flow, whatever. So like, if I were to lose my cash flow and I were to just lose my ability to survive, I could sleep here. And I don't really feel like anyone would bother me, because there's really a lot of people around. I feel like I could just sleep here, and the weather is perfect, so nothing would happen to me except I'd get bitten. But I'm getting bitten anyway, and I would just have that, you know, I would work for that guy and get paid in garlics every day. I work for that guy, get paid in garlics and plantains and avocados. That's what I would do. If shit hit the fan and I lost everything, I would sleep here on the beach by the water. For food, I would get paid in garlics, plantains, avocados, so that I don't get bitten. And I would use the guy's Wi-Fi and make videos until I was able to survive. So anyway, cool. That's what I like about Ecuador. I don't feel like I would be able to do that in the US at all. I would need health insurance in the US. It would cost like everything that I ever own. And I would have to, you know, there would be so much that would make it much more difficult to do the things that I would be able to do in Ecuador. It would be so much more difficult to get away with it in the US. And everything would have to be on the books in the US, which is good in some ways. Like, I can't write any of this stuff off as a real estate expense or whatever. Because even if I were like doing stuff for the business, it would have to all be in cash. Like, nobody would get paid through PayPal. Like, they don't even know what PayPal is. You know, nobody gets paid. And they're like, oh, well, maybe we'll do a wire transfer. There was one place where they were charging more. They wanted to charge, which I didn't do it, but there was this one place here. Actually, I'm sitting right across from them. like this one yoga place in town. When we first got here, I was asking them what their prices are for yoga. Not that I was even serious about paying someone for yoga classes, but they were telling me the prices, and it's more expensive than yoga in Dallas. And I was like, okay, well, do you guys take credit card? And they're like, no, only cash. I was like, there's like no ATM machine. What about PayPal or Venmo or stuff like that? They were like, we would accept a wire transfer from an Ecuadorian bank, from a local bank. It's like, there's no banks here. What are you talking about? Like, the nearest Ecuadorian bank is in Guayaquil. So, anyway, that's a long ramble to say that, yeah, cash only economy is difficult when you're from the US, but I would, if I'm at the level of survival only, I would much rather, and if everything were to crash, and if I were to have to like be dead in the water, I would much rather be dead in the water here than in the US. But in terms of thriving or moving forward in any way, no, Ecuador is dead. Okay, cool. Thanks for watching this video. I'm gonna actually go to sleep now because I'm so tired, but I will see you guys in the next video.